kids. My name is Miss Nancy, and this is Grow with Miss Nancy, and we are talking about the book of Acts. We have gotten to the place where, we've been talking about some persecution. Persecution is when somebody gives you trouble over whatever you're saying or doing. And there's a fella in this story by the name of Stephen. He was a wonderful believer in Jesus. He did lots of signs and wonders, and he was going about telling people about Jesus. And he had a conversation with some people who were from out of town. They were not living in Jerusalem. And they decided they did not like Stephen. I don't know if they were jealous or what their problem was. But they got to the point where they didn't like Stephen at all. And so they made up lies. And they told lies against him. And they accused him of speaking against Moses, who was their most wonderful prophet, that he had done so many wonderful things by bringing the Hebrew children out of slavery in Egypt and giving them the 10 Commandments. So they said, he's speaking against Moses and he's speaking against God. Well, that was a terrible accusation, but it was a lie. It was not the truth. They were not being honest at all. So they had to bring them up before the council. Now remember, the council are the religious leaders who make decisions about what's right and what's wrong in the church or in the Jewish religion. So they really weren't in the church. I'm sorry, I never should have said that. Well, they asked Stephen, so is this true? Are you speaking against Moses? Are you speaking against God? And Stephen gave them a very long answer, which if we condensed it, it would be, he told them the history of Abraham and God's covenant with Abraham, and that he would have many, many children, and that they would be like the stars in the sky and the sand on the beach. He also talked about Moses bringing the children of Israel out of Egypt and how the 10 Commandments were given. He told about King David and all the wonderful things King David did. And then Solomon building the temple and how wonderful that was. And then he got to Jesus. And when he talked about Jesus, he told them that Jesus had come as a sacrifice for them to save them from their sins, and that Jesus was risen from the dead, and he right now was sitting on the right hand of God in heaven. And boy, did that make those Sadducees mad. They wanted to kill Stephen. And the way to kill people back then, for the Jewish people, was to stone them. And that means you take them outside and you throw rocks at them until they die. And that's exactly what they did to Stephen. And as Stephen was having people throwing rocks at him, he looked up in the heavens and he said that he saw the face of Jesus. And he asked Jesus to forgive these guys. Can you imagine? Can you imagine somebody throwing rocks at you until you die? That's what was happening. And it was all because somebody lied against him. There was a young man by the name of Saul who was standing by, watching out for the coats of those people throwing rocks. Later, we'll talk about him because he had a tremendously important experience where Jesus talked with him, and he became a most important missionary for this early church. But right now, he's thinking that it was a good thing to stone Stephen. People are being persecuted all over the world. We talked about that before. Even today, in other countries, people are being killed, people are being hurt, bad things are happening because they're Christians. And these folks are standing strong in their faith. Whatever happens to them, they are not saying, I won't believe in Jesus anymore. They are saying, I still believe in Jesus. Jesus is my Savior, because they know how important Jesus is. I hope you feel in your heart how important Jesus is to you as well. No matter what happens, no matter who talks to you against Jesus, don't ever give up. Don't ever turn against Jesus. He's there for you, and He loves you, and God does too. And God sent Jesus for you so that you would be saved, and so that you could be with God and your heart can be right with God again. I'm so glad you're here today. I'm so glad that you are learning about what the early church did and what happened. It's all truth, you know. And what's happening in our world that you hear about is truth as well. Be a strong Christian for Jesus. Mary and Martha were talking about this. I bet we could listen into their conversation as well. Let's do that. I'll see you next Sunday. Next Sunday is Family Sunday. We might do something special. Talk to you later. Bye.